The Cursed Throne. A King's Forbidden Love. Once upon a time, in the great kingdom of Zembala, there was a mighty king named Obadele the Fierce. He was a warrior king, feared by his enemies and respected by his people. His wealth was immeasurable and his power stretched beyond the mountains and rivers. But despite his strength, King Obadele had one great weakness: his uncontrollable jealousy and desire. He had many wives, but none of them captured his heart like his only daughter, Princess Nyasha. She was a beauty beyond words. Her skin glowed like polished ebony, her eyes sparkled like the night sky, and her laughter was as sweet as birdsong. Every man in the kingdom spoke of her beauty, and many noblemen and princes from distant lands sought her hand in marriage. But the king could not bear the thought of another man having her. Whenever a suitor came, his heart boiled with jealousy and rage. Why should another man enjoy what I have created, who is worthy of my own flesh and blood? He thought. And so, each time a suitor arrived, the king found an excuse to reject him. Some were too poor, others were too weak, and some were too foolish. In truth, he wanted no man to have his daughter. He wanted her for himself. One fateful evening, as Nyasha turned 18, the kingdom prepared for a grand festival to celebrate her coming of age. The entire kingdom rejoiced except the king. That night, as Nyasha danced among the people, King Obadele watched her with dark, longing eyes. The way she moved, the way she smiled, it filled him with both love and an unbearable desire. He could not stand it any longer. The next morning, he summoned the royal council and made an unthinkable decree. I, King Obadele, have chosen a husband for my daughter. From this day forth, she shall be my queen. Gasps filled the room. The elders whispered in shock, and the warriors bowed their heads in shame. This was taboo. It was against the laws of man and the spirits. But no one dared to challenge the king. Nyasha, horrified, fell to her knees. Father, please. This is wrong. I am your daughter, she cried. But the king would not listen. That night, a great wedding feast was held, though the air was filled with unease. The gods watched in silence, their wrath building. On their wedding night, as the king reached to claim his new queen, a great wind howled outside. The walls of the palace trembled, and the torches flickered wildly. Then a deep, ancient voice echoed through the chambers. Obadele, your greed has angered the spirits. You have taken what is forbidden, and now you shall pay the price. A shadowy figure emerged, a spirit as tall as the palace, with eyes like burning coals. It was Ogunma, the guardian of ancestral laws. Nyasha fell to the ground, weeping, but the king, in his arrogance, drew his sword. No spirit tells a king what to do, he roared. But Ogunma only laughed. Then let your punishment begin. The ground split open, and a terrifying curse fell upon the king. His body twisted, his face elongated, and his hands turned into claws. His voice became a deep, guttural growl. From this night forth, you shall be no man, nor king. You shall roam these lands as a beast, hidden from the eyes of those you sought to control. Before the horrified eyes of the court, King Obadele transformed into a monstrous hyena, a creature of greed and shame. With one final, sorrowful look at Nyasha, he fled into the wilderness, cursed to wander the land for eternity. With the king gone, the kingdom fell into disarray. But Nyasha, wise and strong-hearted, took the throne and ruled with justice and kindness. Under her reign, Zembala prospered, and the people sang her praises. She built shrines to honor the spirits and remind the people of the consequences of greed and selfishness. And to this day, in the deep forests of Zembala, people say that on certain nights, you can still hear the mournful howls of a lonely hyena, the cursed king, forever paying for his sins. With the curse cast and the once mighty king Obadele now a monstrous hyena, the kingdom of Zembala tried to move forward. Queen Nyasha ruled with wisdom, bringing peace and prosperity to the land. But though her father was gone, his shadow still lingered. At night, the people of Zembala heard the mournful howls of a hyena coming from the distant forests. Hunters swore they saw its glowing yellow eyes watching from the darkness, never attacking, only watching. Travelers passing through the kingdom often reported seeing strange clawed footprints near the palace gates, only for them to vanish by morning. The elders whispered among themselves, "The cursed king still walks among us." And so fear remained in the hearts of the people, for they knew the spirits never punished without purpose. Obadele's story was not yet over. One night, as Queen Nyasha slept, she had a vision. A group of shimmering ancestral spirits appeared before her, their robes woven from stardust, their voices deep and echoing. At their center stood Ogunma, the mighty spirit who had cursed her father, Nyasha, daughter of the fallen king. Ogunma spoke. "Though your father was a man of greed, he was also a man of power. Zembala still carries his name, and his soul wanders in torment. His punishment must end, but only through your hands." Nyasha trembled. "What must I do?" "You must journey into the Forbidden Forest, to the Valley of Echoes, where his spirit lingers. Only there can his soul find peace. But beware, his jealous heart still beats within him. If you fail, the curse will fall upon you as well." With that, the spirits vanished, leaving only a trail of golden dust in the air. Nyasha awoke, her heart pounding. She had to face her father. At dawn, Nyasha gathered her most trusted warriors and set out toward the Forbidden Forest. The path was treacherous, overgrown with twisted vines, and filled with the eerie sounds of unseen creatures. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, as if the land itself refused to let them pass. Then, at the edge of the Valley of Echoes, they heard it. A deep, sorrowful howl. A great shadow emerged from the mist, and there, standing before them, was the cursed Hyena King. His fur was matted, his eyes burned with both rage and sadness, and his once mighty crown now hung loosely around his neck, rusted and broken. "You dare come here, daughter?" His voice rumbled, though his mouth did not move. It was his spirit speaking, not the beast. Nyasha stepped forward, gripping her mother's old necklace, a token of the past. "Father, the spirits have sent me. Your suffering must end, but only if you let go of your greed." The hyena let out a chilling laugh. "Let go? Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I chose to be cursed? I was the greatest king, the strongest warrior, but they stripped it all away." His body trembled, his form shifting as if he might become human again, but his own anger held him back. "No one stripped it away," Nyasha said softly. "You lost it because you tried to own what was never yours to take. Even love cannot be ruled, father." The words struck him like a spear to the heart. The hyena staggered back, his eyes flashing between human sorrow and animal rage. For the first time in years, the king saw himself not as a ruler, not as a warrior, but as a man broken by his own choices. Tears streamed from his glowing eyes. The curse began to weaken. The ground beneath them trembled as the spirits descended once more. Ogunma stepped forward, his gaze locked onto the fallen king. "Obadele, do you now understand?" The hyena nodded weakly, his once mighty form now hunched and frail. "Yes, power is nothing without wisdom. Love is nothing without freedom, and I was nothing without my people." Ogunma raised his staff. Golden light surrounded the hyena, lifting him off the ground. His fur melted away, his claws retracted, and before them once again stood King Obadele, not as a warrior, but as a humbled man. But his crown did not return. His throne was not restored. The spirits had freed his soul, not his kingdom. "Your time as king is over, Obadele," Ogunma declared. "You will live, but as a man who walks among the people, not above them. Your wisdom must now serve others. With that, the spirits vanished, and the cursed throne of Zembala was finally at peace. The new dawn. Obadele, now an elder with deep wisdom, became a wandering teacher, guiding lost souls and warning young rulers of the dangers of greed. He never took another throne, never sought power again. As for Queen Nyasha, she ruled for many years, ensuring that no king would ever again place himself above the laws of the spirits. Under her reign, Zembala flourished like never before, and though the hyenas' howls were never heard again. People say that on the windiest nights, if you listen carefully, you might hear a voice in the breeze whispering. Years passed after King Obadele's fall, and, under Queen Nyasha's rule, the kingdom of Zembala thrived. The people loved her for her wisdom, fairness, and kindness. However, while she ruled well, many elders and warriors whispered among themselves Zembala had always been led by a king, and some believed it was only a matter of time before a man would challenge her reign. That time came when a powerful warrior king named Ekwem rose to prominence in a neighboring land, a fierce but honorable ruler. He had heard the stories of Zembala's history, the fall of King Obadele, the curse, and how Nyasha had restored peace. Yet, in his heart, Ekwem believed that a warrior king was needed to secure the kingdom's future. He sent a message to Queen Nyasha. Zembala has known peace, but peace is fragile. A kingdom without a warrior to defend it is a kingdom waiting to fall. I challenge you, Queen Nyasha, not in hatred, but in tradition. Let the people decide who should lead them. Nyasha, though wise, understood the weight of tradition. She had never sought power, only justice. And so, rather than let her kingdom be divided by war, she did something unexpected. She stepped down. In a grand ceremony before the people, Nyasha removed her royal crown and placed it on the ancestral altar. The spirits chose me to right a wrong, not to rule forever. If the people wish for a new king, then I will honor their will. The people murmured in shock, for never had a ruler willingly given up power. But Nyasha was not bitter. She had restored balance, and that was enough for her. The honoring of a queen. Ekwem, now the new king of Zembala, could have taken all the glory for himself, but unlike Obadele, he was not ruled by jealousy or greed. In front of the people, he knelt before Nyasha and declared, "Though I wear the crown, the wisdom of the queen must never be forgotten. She saved this land, and for that she shall always be honored." And so, rather than being cast aside, Nyasha was given a new title, the Mother of Zembala, a position of wisdom and guidance. Whenever the king faced a difficult decision, he would seek her counsel. Even warriors, though trained for battle, were told to listen to her words. For a kingdom ruled by wisdom lasts longer than a kingdom ruled by strength alone. The final fate of Obadele. As time passed, people forgot about the cursed king who once ruled with jealousy. But in the shadows, Obadele still wandered. Though his body had been restored to human form, he had no throne, no palace, only the stories of his past. One day, an old traveler arrived at the palace gates, his clothes tattered, his eyes tired. It was Obadele, returning not as a ruler, but as a humble man. King Ekwem and Queen Nyasha stood before him. The warriors of Zembala tensed, expecting him to demand his throne back. But instead, Obadele did something no one expected. He bowed. "I was once a king, but I was not a leader. I was once powerful, but I was not wise. Now I ask only one thing: let me serve this land. Not as a ruler, but as a man who is learned." Silence fell over the court. Finally, Nyasha stepped forward and nodded. "Then let the past be the past. If you have learned, then let your wisdom be your redemption." And so, the once feared king became a humble teacher, traveling the land, sharing his story, and ensuring that no ruler would ever again fall into the trap of greed and jealousy. And thus, the throne of Zembala remained strong, not because of kings or warriors, but because of the wisdom passed from generation to generation. Years had passed since King Obadele's downfall. No longer a ruler, he had become a wandering teacher, traveling between villages, sharing wisdom, and warning young rulers of the dangers of greed, jealousy, and unchecked power. Despite this, the spirits watched him closely. Though he spoke of wisdom, some among them still doubted. Has he truly changed? Or does the desire for power still live within him? And so, the spirits prepared a final test, one that would determine Obadele's fate once and for all. The stranger in the desert. One evening, as Obadele traveled alone through the dry plains beyond Zembala, he came across a lone figure, a young man, dressed in royal robes, wounded and weak. The young man gasped, "Please, help me, they took my kingdom. My people suffer." Before collapsing from exhaustion, Obadele quickly carried him to shelter, offering him water and food. As the young ruler recovered, he told his story. "I am Prince Kamolu. My father, the king of Genma, was betrayed by his own brother. Now my family is in chains, my people suffer, and my kingdom is lost. I need warriors, but I have nothing left to offer. If I do not fight back, my people will forever be slaves." Obadele listened carefully. He could see the pain in Kamolu's eyes, the same pain of a ruler who had lost everything. The desire to reclaim what was taken burned within him, and for the first time in years, Obadele felt the old hunger return. "This is my chance," he thought. "I have seen many battles. I know the way of kings. If I help Kamolu take back his throne, I could become his chief advisor. I could stand in the palace once more. I could." He stopped himself. The spirits were watching. That night, as Kamolu rested, Obadele walked alone into the desert, thinking deeply. The voice of his past self whispered in his mind, "You were born to rule. You could have a throne again." But then, another voice came, softer, yet stronger. It was Nyasha's voice. "A true leader does not take power for himself. A true leader serves his people." At dawn, Obadele made his choice. He returned to Kamolu and placed a hand on his shoulder. "I will help you take back your kingdom. But I do not seek a throne. I do not seek power. I only seek justice." Kamolu nodded, and together they journeyed to Genma. Upon arriving, they found the people in chains, the land in ruin, and Kamolu's uncle ruling with an iron fist. Obadele, using his years of wisdom, did not rush into battle. Instead, he rallied the hidden warriors of Genma, the elders who still believed in Kamolu's right to rule, and the villagers who had suffered enough. With careful planning, they struck not with brute force but with strategy. By the time the uncle realized the rebellion had begun, it was too late. The people of Genma reclaimed their city, and Kamolu, the rightful king, took his place on the throne. As the victory celebrations began, Kamolu turned to Obadele. "You were more than a teacher. You were the reason I reclaimed my throne. Let me honor you as my chief advisor, my second in command." But Obadele smiled, shaking his head. "I did not fight for power, Kamolu. I fought for justice. My place is not on a throne, but among the people, teaching the next generation to lead with wisdom." And at that moment, the skies rumbled, and the spirits appeared once more. Oguma, the great guardian spirit, stepped forward. His eyes, once filled with judgment, now held a deep respect. "Obadele, you have passed your final test. When given the chance to reclaim power, you chose to serve instead. Your soul is free from the chains of your past." A golden light surrounded Obadele, lifting the final weight of his curse. Though he had been freed from the hyena form long ago,